Welcome to CrimePod Castle's Twisted Love series. Today we're diving into a case where the very people meant to love and protect you. They become the source of unimaginable betrayal and harm. It's a story about a family gathering gone terribly wrong, where greed and resentment, kind of festered beneath the surface of a seemingly joyous occasion, leading to a really devastating outcome.
Yeah, it's a chilling reminder that sometimes, the greatest threats, they can actually come from within the circle of trust we build around ourselves,
Sure.
particularly within the complex dynamics of a family.
Exactly. In Barabanki, Uttar Pradesh, back in 2018, a celebratory event marking a patriarch's 70th birthday turned into a horrific tragedy. Instead of shared laughter and cherished memories, this gathering was marked by poisoning, multiple deaths, and a shocking revelation betrayal that shook the community to its core.
What's particularly disturbing about this case is the sheer calculation involved. It wasn't a crime of passion or a spur-of-the-moment act. This was meticulously planned, highlighting a level of premeditation that sends shivers down your spine.
It makes you wonder, how do such dark intentions take root within a family? Was there any indication of simmering tension or animosity beforehand? Or did this explosive act of betrayal come as a complete shock?
Well, often in cases like this, there are underlying currents of resentment, envy, or unresolved conflicts that might not be readily apparent to outsiders. Perhaps a perceived injustice related to inheritance, a long-held grudge, or a power dynamic within the family that breeds discontent. These negative emotions, if left unchecked, can fester and morph into something incredibly dangerous.
So we're looking at a scenario where beneath the surface of a seemingly happy family gathering, a storm was brewing. And the catalyst for this storm appears to be a dispute over inheritance. Is that a common trigger in these types of cases?
Sadly, yes. Inheritance disputes can bring out the worst in people, as the prospect of financial gain, especially when coupled with pre-existing tensions or feelings of being slighted, can lead to irrational, and in this case, utterly devastating actions.
So walk us through the events of that fateful day. What happened at this 70th birthday celebration that turned it into such a horrific tragedy?
Imagine this, a large family gathering, multiple generations coming together to celebrate the life of their patriarch, Ramesh Sharma, a retired schoolteacher. The air is filled with laughter, the aroma of traditional food, and the warmth of shared stories. It's a scene of pure joy and familial bonding. However, this idyllic picture is about to be shattered.
That contrast between the joyous atmosphere and the impending tragedy is truly chilling. It speaks to the deceptive nature of appearances and how easily a sinister act can be masked by a facade of normalcy.
Absolutely. As the family sits down for a traditional meal, they are completely unaware that someone among them has introduced a lethal poison into the food. It was a calculated act, designed to cause rapid organ failure and inflict maximum damage.
That level of premeditation is just horrifying. To think that someone would deliberately poison their own family members, the people they are supposed to love and cherish, it's simply unfathomable. What kind of poison was used? And were there any immediate signs that something was wrong?
The poison used was a potent pesticide, a substance readily available in agricultural areas like Barabanki. What makes it particularly dangerous is its quick action, an ability to cause multiple organ failures.
So this wasn't just any poison. It was something specifically chosen for its lethality, an ability to inflict swift and irreversible damage. Did the family members realize they had been poisoned right away, or did the symptoms take some time to manifest?
Initially, the symptoms might have mimicked common ailments like food poisoning, nausea, vomiting, abdominal cramps. But as the poison took hold, the symptoms would have escalated dramatically, leading to difficulty breathing, seizures, and ultimately organ failure.
It's heartbreaking to imagine the chaos and panic that must have ensued. As multiple family members started collapsing, their bodies succumbing to the effects of the poison. What happened next? Did anyone survive this horrific attack?
Tragically, 6 individuals, including the patriarch Ramesh Sharma, lost their lives. Others were rushed to the hospital, fighting for their lives as medical professionals struggled to counteract the effects of the potent pesticide. The surviving family members faced not only the immense grief of losing loved ones, but also the chilling realization that someone within their own circle had orchestrated this horrific act. The scene at the hospital, it must have been chaotic and heartbreaking, a blend of frantic medical efforts and the raw grief of a family torn apart. As the survivors clung to life, the police, they launched a full-scale investigation. They had a chilling puzzle to solve. Who within this family would commit such a heinous act, and what was their motive?
You mentioned earlier that inheritance disputes are often a catalyst in these types of cases. Did the investigation uncover any evidence pointing in that direction? Was there any particular family member who stood to benefit from the deaths of others?
The police in these situations, well, they have the difficult task of navigating a web of relationships and potential motives. They start by interviewing survivors, piecing together the family dynamics, looking for any signs of tension, any whispers of resentment, or any individuals who might have held a grudge.
It's like trying to sift through the emotional wreckage of a family in crisis, searching for those tiny telltale clues that might reveal a deeper, darker truth. Were the police able to identify any suspects early on?
As the investigation progressed, one name kept surfacing: Vikas Sharma, a distant relative of the family. Witness accounts painted a picture of a man driven by greed and a sense of entitlement. He had reportedly been vocal about his belief that he deserved a larger share of the family's property, a claim that had been repeatedly dismissed by the others.
So we have a potential suspect who felt slighted, who believed he was owed more than he was given. It's that toxic cocktail of greed and resentment you were talking about earlier, isn't it?
Exactly. And those feelings, if left unchecked, well, they can fester and distort a person's perception of reality. They can lead to a dangerous sense of justification, where harming others is seen as a means to an end, a way to right a perceived wrong.
It's a chilling thought that someone could be so consumed by greed and bitterness that they would resort to such extreme measures. What kind of evidence did the police uncover to link Vikas Sharma to the crime? Was it purely circumstantial based on his previous behavior? Or did they find something more concrete?
While Vikas's resentment provided a motive, the police needed hard evidence, and they found it. CCTV footage from a local store showed Vikas purchasing a large quantity of the same pesticide that was used to poison the family, just days before the celebration.
That's a pretty damning piece of evidence. It places him at the seat of the crime, so to speak, buying the very poison that was used to kill. Did the police confront him with this evidence? Or did they continue to build their case?
Faced with this incriminating footage, Vikas was brought in for questioning. Initially, he denied any involvement, but under the weight of the evidence and skillful interrogation, he cracked.
So he confessed.
Yes, he confessed. Vikas Sharma admitted to lacing the food with the pesticide, his twisted rationale being that he wanted to teach the family a lesson for denying him what he believed was rightfully his.
That confession must have sent shockwaves through the community. Not only was the perpetrator a family member, but his motive was rooted in such a cold, calculated desire for revenge and personal gain.
The confession, coupled with the forensic evidence and witness testimonies, painted a damning picture of Vikas Sharma's guilt. The case quickly moved to trial, where the prosecution presented their case, laying out the evidence in chilling detail.
Did Vikas try to defend his actions? Did he express any remorse for what he had done? Or did he maintain this twisted sense of justification?
His defense team attempted to portray the poisoning as unintentional, claiming that he only meant to frighten the family, not kill them. They argued that he had acted impulsively, not with premeditation, however the evidence, particularly the CCTV footage showing him purchasing the pesticide days before the celebration, contradicted this claim.
That seems like a weak defense, given the level of planning involved and the choice of such a lethal substance.
You're right. The prosecution dismantled the defense's arguments point by point, highlighting the premeditation, the choice of poison, and Vikas's own confession as clear indicators of his intent to cause harm.
So in the end, justice was served.
In mid-2019, Vikas Sharma was found guilty of multiple counts of murder and attempted murder. He was sentenced to life in prison, a just punishment for his horrific crime.
While the verdict brought a sense of closure, it couldn't erase the pain and suffering endured by the surviving family members. They were left to grapple with the immense loss, the shattered trust, and the haunting knowledge that their own relative had been capable of such a monstrous act. It's a story that leaves you questioning the very nature of family and the depths of human darkness. This wasn't just a crime. It was a complete violation of the trust and love that bind a family together. Do you think there's anything the family could have done to prevent this? Any warning signs they might have missed?
That's a question that haunts many families impacted by such tragedies. It's natural to look back and search for those missed signals, those moments where intervention might have been possible. But hindsight, as we know, is always 20/20. In the midst of complex family dynamics, well, it can be incredibly difficult to discern genuine threats from everyday disagreements or personality clashes.
It makes you realize how important open communication and healthy conflict resolution are, even within families. Perhaps if there had been a space for open dialogue, for expressing grievances and addressing underlying tensions, this tragedy could have been averted.
Absolutely. Creating an environment where family members feel safe to voice their concerns, where differences are acknowledged and respected, it's crucial. Sometimes seeking professional mediation or family counseling can help navigate those difficult conversations and find constructive solutions.
It's also a reminder that seeking help is not a sign of weakness, but rather a proactive step towards protecting the well-being of the family unit.
Do you think there are any broader societal factors that contribute to these types of crimes? Is there something about our culture or our values that might be fueling this dark side of human nature?
That's a complex question, and there are no easy answers. Certainly, societal pressures related to wealth, status, and individual achievement. Well, they can create an environment where greed and envy thrive. We live in a world that often glorifies material success, sometimes at the expense of compassion and empathy. It's like that saying, money can't buy happiness. But sometimes it seems like we've forgotten that. We get so caught up in the pursuit of wealth and possessions that we lose sight of what truly matters, our relationships, our communities, and the well-being of others.
It's a delicate balance, and it requires a conscious effort to prioritize those human connections, to cultivate empathy, and to recognize that our worth is not defined by what we own, but by how we treat each other.
The Barabanki poisoning case serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of family bonds and the devastating consequences that can arise when greed and resentment take root. It's a story that forces us to confront the darker aspects of human nature and to ask ourselves, what can we do to prevent such tragedies from happening again?
Perhaps the most important takeaway is this. Let's foster open communication within our families, address conflicts constructively, and seek help when needed. Let's choose compassion over greed, understanding over judgment, and love over hate.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Barabanki poisoning case. It's a story that will stay with us, prompting reflection and hopefully inspiring positive change.
And remember, it's through these difficult conversations, these explorations of the darker corners of human behavior, that we can learn, grow, and strive to create a world where love, not greed, prevails.
If you found this episode thought-provoking, be sure to follow and subscribe to CrimePod Castle on your favorite podcast platform. And check out our YouTube channel for more deep dives into fascinating and sometimes unsettling true crime stories. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and as always, stay vigilant.